When you buy an Instax camera, the most important thing to decide first is what kind of format of Instax do you want. So there's Instax Mini, which is the little format. So this is a landscape picture and here's a portrait. Then there's the Instax Square, which is the same height as the Instax Mini, but it's a square format, so it's more like a Polaroid. And then there's the Instax Wide. So Instax Wide is double the width of Instax Mini. All the different formats have their advantages and disadvantages, so I'll go over those. The Instax Mini is by far the most popular format. I think a lot of people like it because it fits in the wallet. It's also the cheapest and also comes with the most options. You can get the film in color or black and white. It's called monochrome. And also you can have lots of different types of borders. So there's the white border, is the standard film. You can also get it in black and lots of like rainbow colors and designs. So definitely the most options for this film, and also it is the cheapest film of the bunch. The square format is cool because it resembles the classic Polaroid square. Polaroid pictures, the original Polaroids, are bigger than the Instax Square. So if you're used to seeing the classic Polaroids and you think you're gonna get the same thing, be warned, this one is significantly small. You can tell the difference. So I don't really cover the Polaroid cameras on this channel because they're really expensive and the film is expensive. And I don't really have experience with this, so I prefer Instax. And I don't mind the smaller picture. It's kind of cute. It's mostly for memories anyway. And then the advantage of the wide format is that it is the biggest picture area. So it's a double of the Instax Mini, and you can fit the most into the frame. The disadvantage of the wide format is there are the least number of cameras available for this format. I'm Matej, and I have lots of videos about Instax cameras on my channel. So if you have any questions and problems, check out my other videos, and you might be able to find the answers you need. I'll go over all the different cameras right now and I'll put pricing on the screen, but that's the pricing at the end of 2022. So for accurate pricing, check out the links below. They're affiliate links, so if you buy through those links, it doesn't cost you anything, but it helps out this channel. Let's say you decided on the most popular format, which is the mini format. You can go in two different routes. You can get a fully analog camera like the Instax Mini 11, or you can get a hybrid camera like the Instax Mini Evo. And I'll explain what are the differences. In analog camera, there's no digital chip and you can't see the picture when you're taking it. So you turn on the camera like this, light travels from your subject through the lens and onto the film, and then the film is ejected and you get your picture. So that's how an analog camera works. I'll describe how the hybrid cameras work in a second. For the analog cameras, we have multiple options. In the mini format, we have the Instax Mini 11, which is by far the most popular Instax mini camera, or Instax camera in general. It's super easy, it's cute, it's a nice little playful design, and it's really easy to use. To turn it on, you push this button right here to eject the lens, and now it's ready to shoot. So all you have to do is to take a picture, is press the shutter button, and the picture comes out. It's fully automatic, has a flash, and then if you need to go a little bit closer, you can also enable the selfie function right here. So I highly recommend this camera for, especially if you're buying a camera for kids or anybody who's not super tech savvy. It's a really fun camera. It's a great way to start with Instax because it takes out all of the thinking about it. You can just point and shoot and can be free and don't have to worry about it too much. The Instax Mini 11 comes in 6 different colors and it costs about $80. There's also the Instax Mini 40, which is the same exact camera as the Instax Mini 11, but it's in a slightly different shell. It's more of like a black, elegant shell, more retro style, more for adults, but inside is the same camera. The Instax Mini 40 costs about $100 right now. So it's up to you. If you don't care too much about design, definitely get the Instax Mini 11 because it's cheaper than the Instax Mini 40 and you're gonna get the same camera. If you have more experience with cameras and you want something a little more sophisticated and you wanna do like kind of funky pictures like double exposures and long exposures, you should get the Instax Mini 90 Neo Classic. For this one is more motorized. It doesn't use AA batteries like the Instax Mini 11. It uses a lithium rechargeable battery, and to turn it on, you push this button right here and it ejects the lens. And there's lots of different options on the back. I have videos on this, how to use these in detail, so you can check that out. If you want to experiment even more, there are different cameras from Lomography. You can check those out. The prices go from anywhere from $90 to $200. I would not recommend them for beginners. So if you're just starting out with Instax, I would highly recommend to stick with the Fujifilm cameras because they're a lot easier to use. If you really need to save some money, instead of the Instax Mini 11, you can go for the Instax Mini 9 or Instax Mini 8. So the Instax Mini 8 and Instax Mini 9 are the same exact camera, except the Instax Mini 9 has a selfie mirror here. So this is the 8, so the 9 has a selfie mirror. These are the older model before the Instax Mini 11. They work pretty well, but the Instax Mini 11 is much, much better, particularly if you're taking pictures indoors. So I think the price difference between the Mini 11 and the Mini 9, Mini 8 is probably $20, $30. So I generally wouldn't recommend the Instax Mini 8 or Instax Mini 9 anymore because the price difference is not that large and the film is pretty expensive. So you are more likely to waste film in the Instax Mini 8 and Instax Mini 9. But if you are really unsure about Instax and just want to try for a couple of packs, you can get a used one of these and just try it out and see if you like it. In general, for Christmas presents, I would not recommend used Instax cameras because you never know what happened to them. I think a lot of these cameras, if you buy them used, they might have been dropped, and I get a lot of comments from people about these cameras not working because the batteries or something. So if you don't want to disappoint people like your relatives, I wouldn't buy used cameras as a Christmas present unless you can test it before and make sure everything is okay. If you're buying for yourself, go ahead. You can definitely save some money on used Instax cameras, but if you are using Instax quite a bit, the cost of film is going to be much larger than the cost of the cameras. So keep that in mind. I think it's worth to buy a camera that's really good condition. I wouldn't necessarily buy one that's like super beat up. The next type of cameras are the hybrid cameras. So we have two different options. The one that's super hot right now on the market is the Instax Mini Evo. It's kind of the most expensive camera. It costs $200. There's also the predecessor, which is the Instax Mini Replay. This one I think used to be like $160. I'm not sure if it's discontinued, but you might still be able to buy it new. But I would recommend the Instax Mini Evo over the Instax Mini Replay because it's just a more capable camera. They kind of figured out some things from the Replay that weren't so good, and they made the Instax Mini Evo better. So this is a hybrid camera. So what that means is that when you take a picture and there's a little tiny digital camera inside, so it works just like your phone. So once you take a picture, it's a little digital camera. On the back you have a screen that shows you the picture. And now you can kind of play around with the picture. You can add different effects. So that's, you have like a little wheel to add different effects. So these are like lens effect. Also has like that kind of film effect. I have really comprehensive videos on this camera, so check it out. And once you have a picture that you like, you pull this cool lever and then it spits out the picture. I turned it off before I did that to save the film. But it's a really cool camera. It has a really nice retro styling. This is kind of like the premium option. So if anybody really just cares about the convenience of taking pictures of Instax, this is definitely the best camera to get. It's the most expensive, but it's super convenient. It doesn't extend, so you can't break the lens. That's super useful. And it just looks so cool. So you can take pictures with the camera itself. And also, if you have really cool pictures on your phone, you can link your phone with the camera and then print pictures from your phone. So that works really well. You can do the same thing with the Replay. So this gives you a lot of different options, but it is the most expensive camera. And it is not analog, so it takes a little bit of the joy and the unpredictability of the analog camera experience. So it depends what you want. If you really want analog, don't get this one. If you don't really care if it's analog or not analog, this is probably the best choice, but it's the most expensive. The Replay is very similar to the Evo. It's an older model. I think this came out about a couple years before the Evo. It has a really nice kind of Art Deco design. They work okay, but honestly, I would spend a little bit extra money on the Evo and get that new instead of buying this one used. Just the Evo is significantly better in my opinion. If you don't care about taking pictures with the camera at all and you just want to print pictures from your smartphone, you can just buy the Instax Mini Link printer. So I have the Instax Link wide printer, so this is the wide version, but the mini one looks pretty much the same. You can also get the square one. It's just different sizes. And this links to your phone, so any picture that you have on your phone, you can edit on your phone and then just print it out here. The quality is quite good, it works fine. So this is probably the most practical way to get pictures. The Instax Mini Evo will work the same way as the Instax Link printer. It's just you're paying extra for the camera module, but there's no point buying the Link printer if you have the Evo. But it doesn't have the analog experience, and it takes a little bit of the charm of shooting Instax. Because one of the best things about Instax is that you have the unpredictability. You're at the party, you push the button, comes out, people are excited, the picture comes out. If you take a bunch of pictures with your iPhone and then half an hour later you sit down and print pictures, it's not as magical, it's not as romantic. So I do have the printer, I think they're super useful, but I personally prefer the analog cameras because I think they're more fun. If I'm really want to just shoot digital, I would just use my big cameras. And the last device for the Instax Mini Film is this contraption called the Keypix. This one is super cheap. I think it's about $25 to $30 on Amazon. I have video about it from a couple of years ago. I actually got quite a bit of views, so I think a lot of people are buying this. So I do want to touch on this. So this is essentially a printer, just like the Instax Link printer, but the Instax Link printer prints electronically. So from your phone, it sends the data via Bluetooth into the printer, and then the printer prints out. Well, how this one works is kind of quirky. So you take a picture on your phone. So here's a little landscape I have, and then you have to make sure that it's displayed and it's bright, and then you put it on top of this little gizmo right here, and then there's a shutter button and you take a picture. So essentially it's like a very primitive camera that takes a picture of the iPhone screen. For me, it actually worked decently well, but based on the comments I'm getting on the video, people are having a lot of problems with this. So I probably would not recommend this. It might give you a lot of frustration. If you want to experiment, play around, you can get it, but this might frustrate quite a bit on Christmas. So generally, unless you really need to save money and just get like one of these and maybe like one pack of film, I would not recommend it, because I think it's just gonna cause more frustration than joy on Christmas. And the Instax is so much fun to shoot, especially with the Instax Mini 11, because it's so easy. This might kind of take out the joy from the Instax, and the people might not come back to the format, which would be a shame, because it's a really fun format to shoot, and I really want more people to shoot Instax, because I think film is dying and Instax is a great way to keep it alive. So now we are done with the Instax mini cameras. Next is the Instax Square. The availability of cameras for the format is actually quite low. I don't have that many cameras on the Instax Square. I'll show you what I have and I'll show you what's available. So the most common camera for the Instax Square format is the SQ1, and it costs $120. The SQ1 is essentially the same camera as the Instax Mini 11 in Instax Square format. It has a very similar controls. It's super easy to use. You don't really have much to mess up there. The design is a little bit different, but also available in a lot of colors. So if you are deciding between Instax Mini and Instax Square format and you want a simple camera, you can either get the Mini 11 for the Instax Mini or the SQ1 for Instax Square. The camera should work just fine. There are multiple other cameras before the SQ1. I would generally not recommend them. They're either pretty expensive. They're the hybrid cameras. I think there was SQ10 or SQ20. So they were a hybrid just like the Instax Mini Evo, but they would not allow you to print from a phone. So they were just hybrid. So they would take a picture, a digital picture on the camera, and then you could print it, but you couldn't print from your phone. So I would not recommend those. So I would recommend the SQ1 if you want the analog way. And if you want to print on the Instax Square format from your phone, then there is the Square Link printer. So it looks just like this printer. This is the wide format. It's just a little bit smaller for the Square format. I generally don't like the Square format too much. It used to be actually more expensive than the wide format. And for me, either I like the little tiny format of the Instax Mini because it's cute. And then if I want something bigger, I would just go to the wide format. But I do have a couple cameras for the Square format. I have the Lomo Instant Square. This is a really fun camera. These I think I discontinued. You can still buy them new from Lomography, but they're not really that popular. But I'll show you what that looks like. You can kind of open it up and then you shoot like this. Also gives you really nice quality images because it has a glass lens. And then if you want something super funky, I think these are also discontinued. This is the Diana Square. It has lots of different lens options that you can use. But also this one wasn't as popular. I have a really comprehensive video on this one. Check it out if you're interested in this camera. But not that many people were interested. And the last format is the wide format. So that's double the width of the Instax Mini format. This is probably my favorite format because it's the biggest. I can really play around with it. But unfortunately, the amount of cameras available for this format is quite limited. So the most common camera for this format is the Instax Wide 300, which is giant. I call it the Big Bertha. And it's also super loud. There it is. It works decently well. It's a little bit too automatic. I wish they made like a version that's you can do like more manual exposure with these. These have been made for a really long time, so in lots of different variations. So first you had the Instax Wide 100, then the 200, 210, and 300. And based on what I can tell, they're kind of all the same camera, it's just different design. This is the latest one, and this one has been on the market for a while. The other camera that's available is the Lomo Instant Wide. I'm not sure if it's discontinued. You can still definitely buy it on the Lomography store. So that one is more manual, but the lens is not as sharp as on the Instax Wide 300. Generally, the Fujifilm cameras are really good. The lenses are quite sharp and better than most of the Lomo stuff, except the Lomo cameras that say glass in their name. So if there's a Lomo Instant Square glass and then there is a Lomo Instant Mini glass, those are good because they have glass lenses, but the other lenses are pretty soft, so don't expect super high image quality. But you should only go into Instax aiming for the most sharpest pictures, If you want super sharp pictures, use your iPhone. Instax is kind of about the feel, so a little bit of fuzziness and kind of soft focus is not necessarily bad. If you want a really practical way to get the Instax white prints, definitely the printer is the way to go. Because you can connect it to your phone and then you can just get really nice white print. So that's a really good way to go. The printer costs about $120 right now. I think this is a really good buy. The Instax wide film is generally cheaper than the square film, so you can get it in a bigger pack. So this is a really fun thing on the parties. I really wish they would make like a nice manual version of this camera. Probably the closest thing to that is to use the Lomograph lock for large format cameras. I do have that as well, but it's pretty hard to use and I would not recommend it for beginners at all. If you have any questions, check out all my other videos. There will be lots of links below, but click on my channel and you'll be able to see playlists for all the different cameras that I have. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. I'll see you next video.